Hello and welcome to the last part in Freelance Month. This YouTube series all about how to get clients when you are becoming a freelancer. Today we're going to be talking about some of my experiences when I first became a freelancer, how I gained clients myself, what worked and what didn't work, and my feelings and stresses at the time. Hello, my name is Peter Fisher, and on this howtocodewell.net YouTube channel, we have a tutorial every Tuesday. That tutorial is on a programming language or framework. And then on the Friday show, we have a discussion about web development. This month, however, has been slightly different. There has been a third video every week, and that is on the Thursday. We've been talking this month all about freelance. And so this is the 8th and last video in this series. Today we're going to be talking about what has worked and what didn't work for me when I was beginning out as a freelancer and the stresses and concerns that I had as well. Now, when I started, I actually did freelance on the side. So I was full-time employed doing web development, building websites, mobile apps, all of that kind of stuff. And I was also working for other people on the side. That always happened in the evenings or the weekends. It never really bled into my working day. I didn't allow that to happen. And that was really good because you could build up a sort of a background of clients, if you will. And I thought that was the best thing to do. And I still think that is the wise thing to do. If you want to become a freelancer, then see it as a side project when you're still doing the same thing in the same industry as your full-time career. That's always good. Also, when you do that, you are able to build up a financial safety net, and that is fantastic because that was my biggest stress, my biggest concern when I made the transition from a full-time developer to a full-time freelance developer. The financial concern really did play on my mind. That was the thing that kept me up at night. That was the thing that prevented me from going freelance before. And looking back on it now, I think I could have gone freelance a long time ago. But I'm just so glad and happy that I had that security that I instilled. So any money coming in from my side projects, I was squirreling away in order to go freelance, and I ensured that I had a pocket of income that I could bounce from if I needed to. It also means that when you drop your full-time career to go full-time freelance, you have work to continue on and go through. However, with me, once I finished those projects, there really wasn't anything awaiting for me as soon as I finished those. The period in which I was perhaps a dry wasn't actually that long. However, during that period, it was extremely stressful. And it's an awful thing to think about, but often people equate to the number that you have in your bank account is a reflection of how good you are as a person and how good you are as a businessman. In my opinion, that simply isn't true, but it's very difficult to get away from that notion when things aren't going your way, when suddenly things start drying up. And one thing that we did that really, really helped, which we probably didn't have to do thinking about it now, but it certainly helped with my stress, was that we reduced our outgoing. So we reduced how much we were spending on food, and we were also freezing food as well. And that may seem a little bit weird and bizarre, but that actually did help because you knew that you weren't spending money when you weren't making money, right? I also did a lot of heavy advertising. Also, I was trying to use the time as efficiently as possible. So yes, I wasn't actually being paid directly for any work at that particular dry spell, but I was using my time wisely. I was marketing the website, I was marketing myself, and I was speaking to other freelancers and to other people in the industry as well, just trying to get the reputation out there. And I think that helped a lot. It also built my confidence up as a freelance developer too. So it hasn't been all fun and games, and I do take my hat off to anyone who is jumping into the freelance world. with both feet, and you have to do it with both feet, otherwise there's no point in doing it. Now, sat here right now thinking back upon all the stresses and concerns I had as a freelancer, I basically magnified all of those in my head. And thinking about it now, they weren't overly justified concerns. However, perhaps those concerns were great because they pushed me to be where I am today. And if that is the case, then I would have those concerns again. That's no biggie. But the problem I personally had was I couldn't easily navigate in the flow, in the fluid mix of things. So I'm not one to just go with the flow when things like finance is a serious business. And not only that, but also you're putting your reputation on the line and other bits and pieces like that too. And I found it very difficult to jump in with both feet, not knowing how deep the water was, and trying to tread water and trying to find land. That was in my head where it was. I was stranded in the middle of the ocean trying to find an island, trying to find some work that I could cling on to and project me to the next piece of work, and so on and so forth. That was my struggle in my head. Whether or not that was a justified struggle, it probably wasn't. But that my personality is that it would magnify that. But I do believe that enabled me to try and swim as fast as I could to the clients. And I think that is a good thing. Sometimes you just have to dive in. Sometimes you do have to jump in with both feet. If you don't try, then you'll never know whether you are going to succeed or not. So one thing I would definitely recommend is, for anybody who has similar concerns, is ensure that you have a stable amount of financial money that you can use as a safety net. If you don't need to use it, then you don't need to use it. But having a safety net is a good thing. Now, the big thing that really helped me through this was my wife. She was able to listen to my concerns and tell me whether or not they were justified concerns. And I was able to tell whether they were or not based on her reaction. And that was incredibly supportive. It was an extra hand on the rudder, so we could navigate those waters, and we could find the clients, and we could work out what was right and what was wrong. Another point that I would like to make is around people blowing smoke. Some people who I talked to right at the start, they suggested that they would take me on as a freelancer. And it's very easy to just sort of plan your life around the suggestion of work. That is a very, very dangerous thing to do. A very dangerous thing to do, because half the time that never actually happens, or it doesn't happen straight away. So you want to be very cautious. Try and get things written down if you can. Because then you can go back to someone and say, well, you did actually say this. If I had to make one recommendation for anyone becoming a freelancer, for anyone trying to find a client, it is just to go with the flow. So sometimes when you plan things, those things don't happen, and then you think that you failed because the plan doesn't come to fruition. However, when you get a phone call from someone that says, you've just had a conversation with someone who knew you, and they would like to bring you in as an interview, that is something that happens very spontaneous. So you have to adapt. You have to go with the flow. Like I said, jump in with both feet and adapt and take hold of the things that are being offered to you when they are being offered. It doesn't mean, though, that you have to just take everything. You have to think about whether or not that opportunity suits you at the time, or whether they are just trying to look for a quick solution to a very complicated problem. The final thing that I would like to say in this freelance series is that the stuff that works for me may not work for you, and the stuff that works for you may not work for me. I am also still trying to find my feet through all of this and navigate my way through all of this, like everybody is. Everybody has to adapt to changes in different requirements, different priorities. The things that perhaps I've planned in the first half of the year, they probably won't happen in the last half of the year because circumstances change, and so you have to adapt to those kind of things. Don't just take everything that I've said as gospel. This isn't a quick win guide to suddenly becoming a freelancer and gaining clients. That isn't the case. And if anyone tries to sell you that, then that is just stupid in my opinion. So this has been the final part in the series of how to gain clients when becoming a freelancer. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have any comments, if you've got any queries, if you've got any suggestions on future series, then do let me know. Put them down in the comments section below. I do read all of them. And thanks ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone, and I'll see you again soon.